See what that says? Play better golf. That's my job. That's what I do. I teach and coach people for a living. That's what I do. And I think part of what it means to be a good coach is to make sure you're constantly learning. If you're not learning yourself, how can you put yourself into another person's shoes? Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Could I get a 16-ounce Americano?
Yeah. Can they have creeds?
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, buddy. Just for you.
How's your guys' day going?
It's going
your
good.
Dogs are so cute.
He's a good dog. One thing I know to be universally true when it comes to learning, regardless of what you're learning, is you can debate details for days. And it can prevent you from getting on the path to learning whatever it is you want to learn. When it comes to learning something new, I found it to be a best practice to just get started. And then you can do the research, then you can learn, then you can refine, then you can do all these things that come after you've gotten going and got some reps. So a few things have happened since we last talked. We're doing this today because a few videos back, I said leave this video 1,000 likes. To make it fair, let's get this video over 1,000 likes. Over 1,000 likes, I'll make a video dedicated to indoor archery. Now, a few months back, I started dabbling in what I would describe as the dark arts, that being target archery. I started messing with longer bows, longer bars, what's it all about? And it's helped me quite a bit. And I want to dive into that today with you. So let's do that. As we are about to dive deep down the archery rabbit hole today, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel. I'm on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and my friend Brandon McDonald just issued me a personal challenge to race him to 50,000 subscribers. Let's take down Brandon McDonald. Let's get it going. Let's have a great day. Hit the subscribe button. Let's start with a tour of the new rig. That is not a black Reckoning Gen 2 from Bowtech. Now that Reckoning Gen 2 was my first kind of dip into the target archery world, and I think it was a great bow. On a couple keen recommendations, I thought I would go to a full-size target bow, PSE SupraX 40 in white. As you watch this, it may seem like, hey, Tim changes bows more than he changes his underwear. Debatable. Simply put, I want to expand my knowledge of archery and get to know the different disciplines and have fun learning as I go. Brand new, just put on a couple days ago, Podium Archer target bars. Those are brand new to me, but the carbon feels good and they're actually at a really good price point for target archery bars. This is 33 on the front, 15 on the back. I think the 33 is priced at like 170. Excel Achieve XP sight with an ultra view head on the front and a 4X doublet lens in there with a blue fiber in the middle. Now when it comes to lenses, if you're just getting started, a lot of people shoot 6X indoors, 4, 6 outdoors. You can kind of start wherever you like, but 4 is pretty friendly. There is a little bit of learning curve to shooting the lens. Hamskea Epsilon Rest that we kind of jimmy rigged so it sat up a little bit off the shelf because it was coming down and hitting me in the hand on my previous bow. I don't know if it would do it with this bow, but that's just how it's set up, carried forward. Hamskea 3 seconds peep. I'm running my sight most of the way out, and these Black Eagle PS 27 arrows, the big wide ones for indoor, with 4-inch feathers on the back, glue in bushing and knock, and glue in 200 grain tip. Total arrow weight, 510 grains. Point weight, total arrow weight is something I might adjust as I'm likely to be shooting more outdoors than indoors now. I don't have a name for the bow yet. Maybe you can help me get a name for the bow. But my first impression after shooting maybe 200 arrows through this bow is that it's definitely more stable. Like I get less shakes. My float's better. And it's got a longer riser, so that's probably got something to do with it. The draw cycle, I went with the EM2 cams. PSE offers 3 different cams, and the draw cycle on this is incredibly smooth. It's very fun to shoot. It's got a peak weight of 60 pounds. That's as high as they go, and I was cool with that. One thing PSE does is they send you a few different grip styles to adjust how much angle you want here, or maybe to even micro tune your draw length. And I use the one that's got a little more angle here. I guess that's one of those things that's very individualistic, and it's nice that you have the option to adjust. I actually did build this bow on my own. How's that for an entrance?
What's up?
Let's get a mic on him. Let's get you to look at this bow and just assess, hey, how's my amateur build work?
Assess the fuckery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Josh Jones, welcome back from Vegas.
Howdy.
We're gonna have a full podcast dedicated to his Vegas trip that I will have linked down below. The Josh and Tim podcast.
Suicide watch on that one, probably.
That'll be linked down below, but give this thing your once over on my initial amateur build. And
Okay. Well, let's take a look, see here. You took your little rubber stoppies out. That's probably smart from the target standpoint, because that'll give you a little give and you want a little firmer wall. Let's see.
that was actually a Jay Grimes suggestion.
It is wise. It is. Butchered your launcher down. Future, I'd probably just stick a different launcher blade on there than chopping it, but whatever. Got the one-piece bracket on there. That's good. Good. Gives you the ability to do a little torquage tuning if you want to. Lower mount positions. See how this thing lines up. I'm not sure you got the right peep angle on there, homie. Looks like it's pointed up quite a bit, but that just could be that one.
Well, since we're putting new strings on it.
Did you laser these cams at all when you built it?
No.
Yeah, needs to. And I would definitely put new strings on because I can feel your string moving in my fingers.
It felt a little squish.
Yeah.
A little squish, squish.
It's timed good, but yeah, like this cam's turned this way and that cam's turned that way, and you can get about a tune like that. It's just you're not going to have a consistent string line. So when you don't have a consistent string line, you usually get a little wobble out at range, and you have a little variance, say left to right issue that doesn't make sense. That's probably where it's from. But everything else looks good. I got 0 gripes, 0 complaints. Those are some good looking stabilizers you got on there. Where'd you get those from?
I just told him these are the new Podium Archer bars
These are.
with your weights, which I didn't talk about. Which
which
are very nice little weights.
These are available in 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 4 ounce, and 8 ounce. They're coming out as I get them. And everything I did about these stabilizers was making the nicest stabilizer I possibly could without getting expensive. They're intended to be more of a price conscientious product that's just as good as the expensive ones. So it's the thickest wall I've seen on a piece of carbon. It's super rigid, but in general, I'm really happy with them. I got them Friday before I left for Vegas on my own personal stuff. So, and we just got material in to make these, and I gave Timmy the first set because, you know, Timmy needs the good stuff.
Yeah.
All in all though, I like it.
Yeah. So I really feel like indoor target archery has helped me a lot. I would call it like the lab. It allows me a 20-yard set point, nothing going on, just 20 yards, feet are flat, and this target that's always the same. That's my perspective. I want to elaborate on that, but will you give some of your thoughts on why this could be valuable style of practice, or having a target bow might be a fun way to practice archery more?
Indoor target is really the best platform to learn how to get better, because you're eliminating every variable, right? When you're outside shooting 3Ds or even the flat range or whatever, there's wind, there's temperature, there's pressure, there's uneven terrain, angles, non-definite points of aim. And when you give yourself a definite point of aim in the same distance and in controlled environment, i.e. no wind, no sun, no weather, no nothing, you're forced to work on you. And that's where you gain your most improvement. Working on yourself.
Kind of scary too when you're working on you.
It is. It's like, how did that, I don't get it. I don't understand why I didn't hit the middle of the target. Everything felt right. Well, that was you, dude.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it. And that's where most people gain the most ground every year, is by spending those 3 or 4 months inside simply shooting at 20 yards over and over and over, duplicating the same thing, working on yourself.
Yeah, and why am I a backyard hero, and why do my groups look good in my backyard, and then I shoot 15 arrows on a Vegas face and all of a sudden there's an 8 or a 7? Like, all of those little things can pop up, and I don't know, there's something about that amount of repetition, same spot, same place, that just allows you to dial in the variables and learn like, oh, I missed because I came off my wall, or I missed because my hand torqued, or my whatever.
Or I missed because I'm not pulling. I got in a stressful situation. All of a sudden my release wouldn't go off because you're not pulling, Tim.
Yeah. So it's good. It's like the lab. We'll rip a few arrows and talk a little more. Okay. Now normally this would be done indoors, but these guys run a real business here. We got a little space on the range. We're gonna line up from 20, rip a few. If a person if they're on the fence or they're like, hey, I just wanna dip my toes, what do you think the first couple steps are?
Well, you can obviously take the bow you already have and shoot it indoors, right?
Yeah.
And then as you start to shoot indoors, you're going to be like, well, man, I kind of want this, I kind of want that, I kind of want this piece of equipment, I kind of want that piece of equipment. You'll elevate yourself, but I mean, for the basis of starting with it is the same equipment. You don't have to have different stuff. Now, the reality is different stuff does tend to work a little better. You know, there's a reason guys will shoot a sight with clicks, because you can make small movements. You know, when you're trying to move your left to right, you're up and down, like you're, oh, I know I'm a 1/16 of an inch off, or an 1/8 of an inch off, or a 1/4 of an inch off, or whatever number you want to give it.
Yep.
You can make a much smaller, precise adjustment. Oh, I want to see the middle of the target more. Well, you can shoot a higher power mag lens, you know, or you can add a lens, that sort of thing, instead of just a pin. So you know, not things you wouldn't typically hunt with.
I mean, at our little indoor league, I would say 50% of the people were using their hunting bows without any souped up setups, which is cool. I think a lot of people feel afraid or like they should have something like this to get started, and absolutely not. But if you did have a hunting bow and you're like, hey, first couple upgrades.
First couple upgrades, honestly, would be probably larger arrows, because you have a better chance of cutting a line, because you only have to hit the exterior of the circle that you're trying to aim at, and the larger diameter arrow allows you to put a bigger hole in the target, better chance of hitting the dot, right? Hitting the edge of the dot. So your score will go up with larger arrows. As silly as that sounds, it's true. Longer stabilizers with weights will literally slow the bow down a ton, and you can really customize how you want your bow to feel and balance. So that's kind of a big deal. It's another thing that isn't ridiculously expensive. The thing that's going to cost the most is a target sight with a scope. It just will. Like you'll spend, depending on brand, $500 to $800 between the sight, scope, lens. I mean, you can spend $300 on a lens, depending on how fancy you want to get it, which if you want a good lens, you want a doublet, just so you know. There's nothing clearer, cleaner, and crisper than a doublet. And they make them for just about everybody's scope, just FYI. And we will have those on the website soon. I got to know the guy. I actually shot with him in Vegas. He was on my target butt, and set up an account, and we're going to be carrying the doublets, which a lot of the other sight companies or scope companies offer a doublet lens. They don't make it. It comes from them. Yeah, your arrows probably first, bars probably second. You know, maybe you want to play with a nicer release. That's a real common one, but you see those in hunting too, so it doesn't necessarily mean that you wouldn't already have something like that. But the sight and the scope would probably be last just because of cost. And I mean, that's an Epsilon rest. It's the same rest that Tim hunts with. So I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a different rest depending on if you have a good rest.
Those kind of things can be a little bit intimidating, but most of them are kind of one-time purchases. You have your rail, you have your scope, you have your lens, you have your bars. That can go on your next bow, right? Like your wheels and rims can travel with you. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a nice deal.
Back in December, I put out the Road to 300 video. Basically, it was my way of saying, I want to try to get good at this. I want to put some effort in. I want to spend some time and chase down 300, which is kind of an elusive target score.
Sure.
Right? Not everyone gets there.
That's typically someone's goal.
Yeah.
It's hard to get to.
And right now, my current high score, 291, 14x. That's where I sit today. What do you think like that? Where do you think those next layers come from?
Well, it's time. It's time in shooting, but typically it's not that hard to get to like a 295. Like if you work at it really hard, you should get to a 295 when it shouldn't be that terribly difficult.
Yep.
Getting past that seems to take a while. But everybody's different, you know. You'll have a guy who naturally shoots 300s pretty easily. It's tough. I got to 297, 298 without too much effort in regular practice relatively quickly way back when I shot. I haven't shot an indoor tournament in 12 years, 13 years, and not seriously in over 20. And Vegas was the first tournament I'd gone to on indoor. So I went in very green and ill-prepared. But back then, I got to a 297, 298 regularly, consistently, and in state-level tournaments without too much of a problem. But getting over that is really hard. Like, I shot 300s a few times back then, but I haven't shot it in a long time since. It was difficult, and I shot a lot to get to that point. But typically, once you break that threshold, it's not terribly hard to stay within it. But it's a lot of messing with your equipment, and a lot of it's stabilizers and weights and putting them in the right spot to help slow the bow down and stop it from moving, because it wants to move. It's the idea of finding the right balance point for every individual between their length and their holding and what have you, which all changes. That's the idea.
Over the course of the last few months, I've shot most days, 5 or 6 days a week, 30, 40, 50 arrows. And I've watched my score just slowly creep up, but it's been slow. So that next step, it might take me a while. It could take, I don't know. I don't want to put a timeline on it. I just want to try, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But it could potentially take me a while. And, but I find it to be so valuable because when I come outdoors, all of a sudden it's like, my pin is steadier.
Your pin's steadier, your
My
float's better.
My float's better. My release time is more predictable.
Mm-hmm.
I know if my shot's hung up, how to work through that.
Mm-hmm.
And most of that stuff has been learned.
That's all been learned from standing in the same spot over and over and over in a controlled environment because there's no variables.
Yep. It's good stuff.
Yup.
It's good stuff. The really nice thing about having a target style sight is these little twisty knobs and adjustments. They're very precise. Down the road, if you want, you can go to an app called Archer's Mark. And Archer's Mark uses these granulated sight tapes plus a couple measurements to give you like the most exact, precise sight tapes. And then the sight tapes are changeable. Like if you change elevations or air densities, you can change it straight through the app, which is amazing. It's a really good way to be precise. Not practical for hunting, but if you want to weed down the rabbit hole of shooting 3D or shooting more events, really nice. I really like the grip on this bow. Very, very easy to get into the same position. I keep cranking on my wheels here because I don't have my mark yet. I gotta find my mark. Getting closer. One nice thing about using a lens is for diagnostics. I saw that arrow break exactly where it hit on that last one. And if I was using my hunting bow, it's just floating around. It's more of an educated guess than it is when I'm looking at it up close. So that was a me shot. And that felt so good. Let me know what you thought of this little dive into the weeds of technical archery, target archery, AKA the dark arts. If you want to see another video like this, let's get this one to 1.5K thumbs ups and we'll do another deep dive. For some reason, I'm having a little harder shooting outdoors with both eyes open. So I squinted my left eye on this one and that was pretty good shooting. You see that, Brandon McDonald? My friend Brandon McDonald wants to race me to 50K subscribers. So let's crank it up. Hit the subscribe button. Let's get to 50. Let's blow past 50. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers. It's a big goal of mine. It means a lot to me. Every little bit helps. I will catch you back for the next one.